When we last left the Doctor and Donna, they were flying off to who knows where because Donna royally screwed up the TARDIS console. Luckily, the TARDIS provides. We start with the day in the life of Sir Isaac Newton before he was knighted, and just before he discovered gravity. He ends up sitting beneath his famous apple tree, and an apple falls on his head, just like it's supposed to. But before he can contemplate that event, the rest of the apples fall as the TARDIS crashes into the tree. And so, Sir Isaac meets the Doctor and Donna, much in the way the fourth Doctor mentioned, although he left Donna out of that. After a quick chat, and Donna decides to make a gravity pun, they leave, letting Isaac contemplate the word that Donna mentioned. And he settles for mavity. Not gravity, but mavity. And it's a running gag throughout the episode. Although the Doctor does slip up and say gravity once. Also, apparently Capaldi's Doctor was right. History is a whitewash. Because it turns out Sir Isaac Newton was not quite as white as we thought. Which was an interesting little tidbit. Eventually, they end up on a spaceship, crashing into one of the rooms. Literally. With fire all around, and the song Wild Blue Yonder blaring from the TARDIS console. The Doctor and Donna have to evacuate. So, they're stuck outside the TARDIS while it has to fix itself. Luckily, the Doctor can use the sonic screwdriver in the lock of the TARDIS to speed that process along. Unfortunately, that triggers a safety system which causes the TARDIS to fly off with the sonic screwdriver and without the Doctor and Donna. So now they have no choice but to explore this strange spaceship, which seems to be one long corridor. Eventually discovering anti-mavity cart, they discover a strange little robot, who they call Jimbo, slowly making his way down the corridor. Meanwhile, there's a strange bumping noise on the hull, which they can't pinpoint. A strange voice saying words in an alien language that they can't translate without the TARDIS. And the ship subtly reconfiguring itself in different ways, but staying one long corridor for some reason. Eventually, they find the pilot's chair, but no pilot. But thankfully, the Doctor can more or less decipher the controls and maybe figure out how to get them going. They also find out where they are. They're outside the known universe. Basically, they've gone beyond the radius of the Big Bang. They're in the darkness that was talked about in Genesis. Only when you know who said, "Let there be light," turns out the light hadn't gotten that far yet. They also found out that 3 years ago, the airlock on the ship opened and then closed. which they think might have let something in, but my theory is the pilot went too far because they mentioned it falling through a wormhole. The pilot saw what was out there, couldn't handle seeing the void, and went for a spacewalk without their suit. Eventually, after not coming to this conclusion, the Doctor and Donna make their way to a circuit room with biomechanical circuitry, which the Doctor, of course, licks and pretends it poisoned him just to mess with Donna, of course. And so they start talking about stuff. Donna's family, Gallifrey, just shooting the breeze. But then, as it turns out, the scene wasn't some sort of clever cut. Turns out there are 2 Doctors and 2 Donnas in 2 different rooms. And in one room, the Doctor mentions his arms being too long, and in the other, Donna says the same thing. And it's revealed that they have morphed in gruesome ways. Turns out, the danger which the TARDIS sensed, it was in there the whole time with them. These weird copies that apparently were existing outside in the nothingness. And most likely they got in through the airlock. And after trying to reason with them, discovering that they can change their mass by converting heat into mass, which causes the temperature of the room to drop. They can also contort their bodies in different ways. The Doctor's mouth opens really wide, kind of like Jacob Marley. And Donna has trouble remembering how many knees she's supposed to have. Ooh, severe body horror. Eventually, they become giant and chase the 2 after a while, wrecking the anti-gravity scooter cart thing. And while the Doctor tries to reason with them, they're not seeing reason. Eventually, after messing with them a bit, getting them to confess what's in their hearts, and mocking them for it, we find out what these creatures want. They can sense our universe as a point of boiling energy from so far away. But unfortunately, for some reason, they can only sense the worst aspects of humanity. Our selfishness, our warlike nature, and they copied that. So they wanted to get into our universe to do some fighting. And it turns out they've been keeping our heroes' adrenaline levels high because it's easier for them to copy us that way. Also, making us think. So, the Doctor and Donna have to avoid getting their adrenaline levels up and avoid thinking, which is very difficult in this situation. They also find out that the ominous bumping is the horse-faced captain of the ship outside without her helmet, bumping against the hull. Yes, she did off herself, but as it turns out, it was to avoid being copied by those creatures. She was able to keep her thoughts from being copied and set up a slow-motion plan to destroy the ship using the robot and reconfiguring the ship for self-destruct over the course of 3 years. And then, to seal their fate, she offed herself. So, after invoking a superstition by dumping salt all over, so the creatures would be forced to count the grains of salt before crossing the line of it, which is how the Doctor and Donna got the information about their enemy's nature. They make an effort to speed up the countdown so the ship will self-destruct, because as they realized what was needed to be done, so did the copies. And now they're trying to stop the robot from pushing the self-destruct, with the Doctor copy even using the last of his transformation energy to gallop rather than run. Luckily, they're too late. The robot pushes the button, and since the danger is in the copies existing, the fact that they're going to no longer exist means the danger is going to pass, allowing the TARDIS to return. And so the Doctor and Donna, after a quick who's who, leaves. But unfortunately, the Doctor took the wrong Donna. But thankfully, after a quick scan from the TARDIS, realizing that one of her limbs was still too long, the Doctor returns, kicks fake Donna out, and retrieves real Donna. So, good for that. Meanwhile, the ship, the copies, and Captain Horseface all blow up. The day is saved. But on the way back to Earth, the Doctor gets a bad feeling. Like the fact that he invoked a superstition in a place where reality is questioned. He's worried he might have let something in. But there's no time for that, because there's a happy reunion. A little bit of time has passed since the Doctor and Donna accidentally left. And while the Doctor did ruminate on what would happen without him to pilot the TARDIS, whether it be end up as the focal point of a civilization coming and going, only for the TARDIS itself to remain, while Donna figures her grandpa, Wilfred, was still kicking at 94, and in a retirement village headed up by Kate Stewart, old soldiers taking care of each other. Donna figures Wilfred will get a sleeping bag, some food, and he'll sit vigil. And she was right. They come back to where they were, only to find Wilfred waiting for him. There's a happy reunion with the old soldiers, only to be soured by a riot suddenly breaking out in the streets. And Wilfred informs them then that something bad happened and implores the doctor to save them. Right as an airplane crashes not too far from where they are. And that's the end of that episode. When next we meet, the implications of what happened here are made manifest. Until then, this is Mr. J signing out and reminding you, the Force is with all of us. You just have to reach out and feel it.